my phone like wigging out? No. Let me start that again. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lacey. I'm the owner of Milky Candles and I make videos about life in my 30s. The last time I talked about wholesale, I had just become a vendor at Dig Gardens over in Phoenix. Well, we're in Phoenix. One of my friends told me about them, so I sent them an email. They told me to bring my products in. I brought my products in, and the rest is history. I have a previous video on wholesale that I will put in the top right corner for you to click on so you can watch after this video, and I'll also put it down in the bottom bar or in the description. During that time, I had also just done my very first wholesale order with Ani Beauty Supply, which was really my first wholesale order out of state. And I also had a $10,000 wholesale order with a company that was gifting my candles to all of their employees during Pride Month, which, if you remember, is also the biggest reason why I ended up changing my entire wholesale. That's a bit dramatic, but like I significantly changed my wholesale contract. Since that video, I've had new retailers, I've reached out to real estate agents and brokers, and I've sort of like reworked my process of taking in wholesale orders. So 8 months later from that video, I have branched out, I've made new relationships, and I'm looking at wholesale through a different lens. One of my newest retailers is Local Nomad in Phoenix, and this is really exciting because Local Nomad is like the store in Phoenix. In my last video, I mentioned that I reached out to a company when I was still using my little black tins, and they basically told me that my candles didn't fit their aesthetic, but they'd be more than happy to have me for a pop-up. I wasn't familiar with pop-ups yet, so I didn't take them up on that offer, but I get it. I mean, they have a very particular aesthetic in their store. And then I switched to cement. I have a bunch of old cement candles that I'm burning because we're not selling them anymore. You can watch my life and business updates video. After switching to cement and after asking to do a pop-up at Dig Gardens, which the pop-up was actually the next day, but they asked me if I could come in and set up our booth because they had Fox News coming in and they were like, we want you on Fox News. And I was like, I'll be on Fox News. During that time, the owner of Local Nomad came in. And she saw our setup, like, these are beautiful. We gave her the whole pitch about being able to reuse it for plants or whatever you want. Like, really having no idea who she was, because I didn't know the store owner's name. I just knew the store. She was so sweet, so welcoming, took the business card, snapped a photo, posted us on their Instagram page, which I reposted, but didn't realize until months and months and months later that it was the Local Nomad. And about a year later, she reached out and asked if we would be willing to start a wholesale relationship. I would have never met her had I not done the pop-up at Dig Gardens. So this is your reminder to put yourself out there. It doesn't always need to be with the intention of networking or having professional relationships or what have you. Put yourself out there, make genuine connections, talk to people about your product, the authenticity, all of the bullet points of what your company represents and what your candles or your products represent, and just focus on forming relationships that could come back to benefit both parties in the long run. Because here's the deal, let's say that she wasn't interested in selling the candles in her store, but just thought it was really cute, posted me on the Instagram, whatever. Somebody else could have seen that and been like, hey, we are looking for a candle vendor in our business. Would you be that person? So even if it weren't her, it could have been somebody else. After doing a couple rounds of wholesale orders with them, we had a lot of problems with cement. Again, you can watch that in a separate video. We switched from cement to ceramic. I'm still not interested in going towards glass for our main product. I like glass, I have nothing against glass. I just feel like it's done often, and I intentionally look for ways to like separate myself from other companies. And I was really nervous about our transition because our stock was really low. We didn't have a whole lot of money to completely transition from cement to ceramic because the vessels were more expensive. Like, they're just bigger and everything is cheaper if you end up making it yourself. And we were not making the ceramic vessels ourselves, but we were making the cement vessels ourselves. I was really worried about the amount of stock that we had, and wholesale ordering just took a back seat for a second. We needed to focus on getting our stock inventory in-house up before we could promise wholesale to anybody else. So that was like maybe like 2 months, and they reached out and were like, actually no, they reached out saying they wanted a wholesale order. I then responded saying, we're in the middle of a transition, but I will let you know when we're back on our feet. And then a little bit after that, they were like, we hope that things are going well. Let us know when you're ready. We have people asking for your candles. And I was like, it's just such an interesting, like, it's a euphoric, but like out of body experience when you're like, people are asking for my homemade product, mine. I think we'll file that under imposter syndrome. And honestly, it put a fire under my ass to just like, hurry up. Like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Buy the materials that you can't afford. You don't have to buy it all in bulk. Like, just order a couple more vessels, order a little bit more wax. You already have the scents. Like, just get it together because people are waiting on you. And like, that was a sense of urgency that I don't feel like I had before. So I whipped up the candles that they wanted and I went ahead and dropped them off, which I actually think is a vlog that I had posted. After that, I started forming a connection with somebody who works at Dig Gardens, who is their employee. She also set up a vendor booth right behind us during one of the pop-ups, and she was really sweet, and like, we already knew of her, but during that event we just like started talking more and more and more, and we started building like a genuine friendship, and we're still friends till this day. She recently asked me to host a candle making class for her bachelorette party, which was really fun. I also have a video on that. I'll just put all of them down below. It was just me like getting ready for it basically, and like my thoughts afterwards. But before that, at the time, I was making these like cute little teeny tiny cement minis. They were adorable, but they were a lot of work for not a lot of returns. So it was great while it lasted, and I'll do it for people if they want it, but I don't really sell them. So she had asked for 80 little minis for her wedding. So I went ahead and whipped those out and sent her an invoice, and I still have them. They're like stored in a cool, dry place for when she's ready for me to do her dust covers, and then we'll ship them. I did charge wholesale prices on that because she was ordering so many, and I feel like that's just something that you can consider when people approach you with those types of projects. It's not technically custom. I was already making those minis at that time. She chose scents that I already have. There was only one that I didn't have, but I just bought it for her, and I used the whole bottle, so it's not like I was out any money. I did charge her tax because it wasn't technically for resale, which wholesale for resale usually doesn't include charging tax on it. So she did get charged tax, but she still got wholesale pricing. So one of my connections at Dig Gardens, just emailing them, being there, all of the employees are so incredibly sweet. Like, every time I come in with new candles, they're so excited to just like sniff them and unbox them, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. That one connection opened up so many other opportunities. Local Nomad, my new friendship, the wholesale order of her wedding, as well as having a candle making class. And that was the first time I had done some kind of like wholesale / a little custom. Only the dust covers are a custom item. Everything else is just like normal wholesale that I would have done. And I feel like before this, I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing something like that because I just wouldn't know what it entailed. How do I set up shipping? How do I do an invoice on my website that's not like for a direct order? Like, how do I do all those things? Same thing with the candle making class. I've never done a candle making class before. I'm a former teacher, so I know how like those skills are. Things sort of just kind of come back naturally, but ultimately I've never taught how to make candles. I've just made candles. I don't even teach my fiance how to make candles because I'm like, it's fine. I'm a perfectionist, I'll do it. I had to make sure that it was right for me and make sure that like the level of discomfort that I was feeling was from growing and not from being in like a bad situation, obviously, because there's a difference. Be open to opportunities that might make you feel a little uncomfy, a little uncozy, and try to figure out for yourself, is this something I'm gonna grow from? Or is this something that is gonna be just like a situation where maybe I'm being taken advantage of or what have you. Another connection that I made at the same place, but at different time, these are all like different times. This is why we call Dig It our sweet spot, because we do so well when we have pop-ups there, and we've just made so many genuine connections. They have such a good way of gathering really authentic people. I met a woman named Madeline, I think it's Madeline. She is the owner of Naked Fig Soap. The first time we met, I mean, she just was like, you've got it. Your setup, your products, your attitude, like you've got it. And I was like, this feels like someone who is very seasoned with their small business, with pop-ups, that kind of stuff. You can see my hair is getting more and more flat throughout this video. We just like stayed in touch via Instagram, just like always liking each other's posts, commenting on things. And then she opened up a small brick and mortar with Hey Rosie Creations owner Acacia. So they opened up this place called Local Gather, and this one works a little bit different. It's not quite wholesale, but it could turn into that. So what they do is they set up an online inventory system. They have you bring in your product and you have a shelf space. You can do what you want with that shelf space. Once you sell a product, they get a percentage and then you get the rest. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if I wanted to do something like this, I probably would have said no, because I'm just trying to keep track of my own inventory. I'm not really trying to keep track of inventory in multiple places. But it's actually not A, it's not that difficult. B, it's in a different city, it's in Mesa, so it's expanding my local presence into a different city that is still technically considered local. And C, they're so nice and accommodating and understanding and approachable that it's like, they will walk me through whatever I am concerned about. Like, I just know it. At first, I was a little bit concerned about like giving product to a store and not getting anything until it sells, but it's not a lot. It's like 3 candles in 4 different scents. We're giving up 12 candles. If they, worst case scenario, they don't sell, they just come back to me. I can pull them whenever I want to. I can change out the seasonal scents whenever I want to. Those products are gonna sit in my home regardless, on my shelves. So I might as well just take a couple to a different store and allow them to sell it on my behalf. Just considering the different, I guess, audience that they have, including on their social media. They go to markets themselves and like they'll bring our products with them with our permission. It's just a really cool space with a bunch of small business owners, and they host classes. I haven't done a class. I don't know if I will. It's just a really cool opportunity that yet again came from me putting my face out there, me being authentic with my brand. So again, after networking and just being at a pop-up, we created relationships that benefit both of us. After that, we went to a local, I think it's local, it's a place called GADSUKS here in Phoenix, Arizona. I think there's like a couple, really good food. We did a pop-up on the canal in their parking lot situation, which was really cool. And it was one of the slower pop-ups that we had, but Dig It Gardens was also there, and they were like, everyone that comes up to your booth walks away with a candle. Like they walk away with a bag, like that's impressive. So they actually invited us, they sponsored like a whole row of vendors for the Festivus event, which is like a huge festival in Phoenix during holiday season. So we didn't have to pay anything. They sponsored our booth because they saw like us in action. That was the owner of Dig It Gardens, not just the manager. I've had a closer relationship with the manager, but the owners, that was the first time I think they saw us like really in action, because prior to that, it was at their place, but they were also like running around because it's their place and they're doing a pop-up. I mean, they're hosting vendors to do it. They're having a whole event basically. Anyway, back to GADSUKS. So we're doing a pop-up at GADSUKS, and this guy comes up to me, he starts talking about how he owns a local gin company, and we're like, oh my God, so cool. And they're like, yeah, let's do a collaboration. And we're like, let's do it. A year later, sends me an email, we collab, we do a custom vessel, we work on a custom scent together. They ordered, I think, 50 candles. They haven't posted the candles for sale quite yet. They have a couple projects before that. They're just like the nicest people ever. And it, like, you guys, these things are happening like a year later, 8 months later. It's not like that. It's building genuine relationships. It's being, I don't want to say authentic again, but like seriously, it's like being who you are and having that represent your company. People will flock to that if they can tell that you're being genuine. So the trend is not just doing pop-ups, but I think that that's incredibly helpful. It's also about putting a face to a company, putting a personality to a company, about creating relationships with local businesses and becoming a vendor that people know. People in Phoenix now know Milky Candles, which is, makes me start sweating when I really think about it. We have these conversations and we meet with people without the expectation of anything in return. We even joke around, like when people are passing by and like looking at our booth, we're like, non-committal sniffs. You don't have to buy. We're not gonna make you feel weird about buying. Non-committal sniffs. take a sniff, enjoy it. It'll make your day better. Obviously, we want people to buy, but first we just got to get people to smell our candles, and then they want to buy later, they can take our card and buy later. Something that I did recently was open up wholesale pricing for local, well, not even local, but just like real estate agents and brokers. When we bought our house, our real estate agent gave us such a nice little basket of dog treats and dog toys and candles and like faux plants and things. It was just like the cutest thing. And it was very Phoenix oriented. Like everything had something to do with like living in the desert or being in Arizona. It sort of just like clicked with me. One of the main reasons why I started this company is to start feeling like you have control over your space, whether you are renting, whether you are buying, whether you have full control of your space or you're limited with the amount of control that you have. And it makes sense that is a message that I send to agents and brokers. So I came up with a graphic just to say like, who are we, what are we offering, and here are the nitty-gritty details about like the stuff that you really need to know. For wholesale, for retail, I ask for a 20 item minimum. But for agents and brokers, I was like, that's a lot of candles for someone to buy, and even half that is a lot of candles for someone to commit to. So I ended up on the number of 4 items, whether it's candles or room sprays, and you get wholesale pricing, which is 50% off. So I reached out to my former agent that helped us buy this house, other friends that are real estate agents that are back in Washington State. If you don't know, I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, and just some like other agents that we know are in Phoenix that we've seen like on Instagram or some stuff like that, because they have really cool pages about like, here's what you should know about the Phoenix area. So we follow some of those accounts, and so we reached out to them. And tomorrow I'm dropping off one of the orders because they're close enough that we're just gonna drop it off. And she was someone that I met at Dig It Gardens. She actually took a picture with us. I still have it somewhere. And she's so sweet. Her name is Dana. And so when we reached out to her and we were like, hey, guess what? We're doing this thing and we know you're a real estate agent. Just so you know, if you ever want to, we are offering you 50% off. There's a process that you kind of like need to go through, which is just like filling out a form, but that is what we're doing now. And she was immediately the first person to put in an order. Again, that was not something that we even expected or anticipated. We knew that Atocha, my fiance, is the one that remembered. She was like, she's a real estate agent, you should reach out to her. And I was like, bet. I'm gonna. Because also, if it were me, I would be like, I'm also gonna buy it. I'm gonna put a couple in the basket for myself. So my process for wholesale has changed just a little bit because I switched from Wix to Shopify, and I just didn't have time to figure out like all of the Shopify stuff the way that I knew it with Wix. So far, here's what I do. I created 2 forms, one for retailers and one for agents and brokers. They're different forms because it's easier for me to keep track of. It's just a Google form. It has all of the scents in the color vessel that they are, and it has the price. So they just go through and they find the ones that they want, they input a number, and then they submit the form, I get the form, and then a couple days later, I'll type up an invoice, send it to them, they will pay it, and then I'll make the candles. This feels easier right now just because I'm not sure how to set up a whole page for wholesale, specifically because I don't like, there's the shipping, there's the drop-off situation. It just feels easier for me. It gives me a bird's eye view, and it gives me a little bit more time too before I like collect materials to start making their order. Just the other day, someone filled out the form, but they didn't put any numbers by the products that they wanted. And I was like, who is this? And so I Googled, because one of the questions is like, what's the name of your retailer? I took the name, I put it into Google, and it's another local shop that has amazing Google reviews. And so I just reached out and I was like, hey, I noticed you filled this out. Thank you so much for thinking of us. We didn't see any numbers by the products that you wanted, so just like let us know. You can even let us know in this email. And she responded and said, I'm looking at my lineup for fall and holiday season. Are you gonna have any fall holiday scents? And I was like, yeah, girl, we're definitely gonna have all those. So I told her I'd reach back out once we have those scents lined up and samples made so that she can like sniff everything at one time. That was another relationship that we built. And here's probably how we built it. I looked her up on Instagram and she was already following me. Her shop was already following me on Instagram. Having an online social media presence that builds trust with people who look at your profile is very important. It doesn't mean you have to have a lot of followers. That doesn't mean you have to have professional pictures, but you do need to have something on there that says, hey, just by looking at my profile, you can trust me. whether that's people commenting in your comments, whether it's having a story, whether it's having highlights of like, here are the orders that we've done, here are the pop-ups that we've done, whatever it is. But your social media should represent that you have built relationships, because if you're not a brick and mortar, your social media presence is your first impression. It's almost like a resume. You probably wouldn't buy from a place that doesn't prove their credibility in any sort of way, and other local shops and other customers are gonna feel the same way about you and your product if your social media doesn't prove your credibility. It doesn't mean you have to be on everything. You don't have to do YouTube Shorts. You don't have to be on Instagram Reels. You don't have to like be on TikTok. You don't have to do Pinterest. You don't have to do all of them, but you should do one or two of them, which if it were me, I would recommend Instagram, but that's because I just can't let Instagram go. You basically wanna give people an opportunity to trust you and trust your company before they have to talk to you, because that's what social media is kind of like. It's the highlights of life. And not everybody has the privilege of doing a pop-up and having people approach them and essentially looking for local vendors. Like, not everybody has that privilege. So make sure that your social media at least proves trust and that you are genuine about what you do and the products that you create. Habibi. That's it. That's where we're at with wholesale right now. Last night, I actually got 2 forms submitted, one from Local Nomad and one from Ani Beauty Supply. So I went ahead and sent them their invoices. Per usual, Butters, this has to be his video. He's not actually close to the candle. It just looks like he is. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to check out the videos that I'm putting down in the description below. I love you even if you don't love me back. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in my next one.